nowadays there are a lot of apps available, and especially one good thing that happened after Corona, because we were giving a lot of lectures, and nowadays many people are interested in knowing this, and especially this Android phone has facilitated, listening to things even right from the comfort of your home, and also heritage tours are arranged. So that is an area where we need to do more. I think there were two questions. Yes, please.
Can you explain more about spicy route and the Silk Route thing?
Yeah, Silk Route, actually there is, some people, the trade route coming across the Indian Ocean is described as Silk Road. But some people are against this view, saying that silk was just one of the commodity. If you look at our own literature, it says that even Greek texts mention that pepper moved in large volumes. So it should be called as a spice route. There is one view, and sometimes even the Chinese literature and all that, they talk something about spice route and silk route, maritime silk route, and again there could be some national interest. Even all kinds of histories are influenced by so many other factors. So this particular spice route, some scholars argue that it should not be called as a silk route. They call this as maritime silk route, because we have evidence for silk coming through southern India, because silk is just an elite kind of thing, maybe elite now. Even what we say as prestige goods, earlier scholars used to say prestige goods and elite goods. Again, these are all our own concepts. We do not know whether they were really elite. People could be using them. So this some scholars argue that this maritime silk route should be called as spice route, whereas from the Chinese end, people write about silk route more often. Sometimes we also adopt that. But if you look at the stretch from Mussoories to west, it is clearly a spice route.
If we talk about ancient Tamizhagam, so when we talk about BC, so that is before Christ, ancient time. So we are only talking about the present Tamil Nadu and Kerala. They say even in this valley civilization they have found some the Tamil Gami, etc. So what actually ancient Tamil Nadu constitutes?
Yeah, I told you in the beginning, the space. We cannot call that as Indus Valley is a different thing. Sometimes what happens, so many things are sent. There is no evidence of Brahmi in the Harappan civilization. Harappan civilization is an entirely different realm. Sometime what happened in newspaper articles, they compared some site as with Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, but that is the entire, what I am talking about is based on the evidence found in Tamil Nadu, in Tamizhagam. So if you are talking about Indus Valley civilization, that is a different area. I am not entering into that. As for now, Tamizhagam includes Tamil Nadu and Kerala, and the time unit of roughly say 1200 BCE to 300 CE. That's it. I mentioned that in the beginning. So when you talk about Indus civilization, that is separated from Tamil Nadu by 2000 years in terms of the entity that we are, and 2000 plus kilometers. So that is a different question, Aryan, Dravidian, and I am not touched upon. That's a different area that we need to discuss. Currently my focus is on this. Yeah.
I'm from a technical background, but I'm very much interested in this Brazilian tradition. I'm from Kerala, but we are all Dravidian. So, in this Bible, let me just take as a chronological look. In the Old Testament, there is this part where this King Solomon builds a big temple. So it should be probably, even if it is true or wrong, according to the chronology, it should be something like 3,500 to 4,000 years from now. Like 1,500 to 2,000 BC, before Kamala. So in that I have read that lot of tusk has come from the east. They did not mention like India or something. So I want from your expertise, could it be like India? Because India, in two places we have elephant. One is like white elephant, we don't have good tusk for that, but in India we have like elephants. So it's very good precious tusk. So could it be from India or from Kerala or here? I mean from Tamil Nadu?
Yeah, there is a possibility. So that is the time period I said 1300 BCE, Ramses II's mummy. So that comes very much in this period. It is probable. But the thing is, as far as archaeology is concerned, we need to find evidence. In this case of 900 BC Israel, they have found cinnamaldehyde residue. There were 2 or 3 sources for ivory. One was from Africa. And they say east, it could be from Africa also. Africa was one major source of ivory trade, even in the later period. Another, as you said in the Mussiri's papyrus, it is very clearly said that ivory went from India. There is no doubt. But the period you are talking about is probable. But we need to find evidence on the ground. So only in 2021 we excavated a site, we found shell. Only till then my understanding was different, and that was a turning point. In Sangam literature, another beautiful narration is there. There was one hunter who did not have money to drink toddy. So he is sending his son to bring the tusk he had it at home. So he brings and he exchanges it. This kind of exchanging tusk for toddy happens at the lower level. Then the same thing would have gone for elsewhere for a higher price. So this kind of regional exchange did happen, and all these communities, they were collecting. If you look at the literature, it is replete with the example how the shepherds, they were collecting precious diamonds. Even today, I have seen it in the 1980s that in Coimbatore, the people used to collect precious stone from the field, and there used to be one person coming and buying all that. So this kind of exploitation of the resources happened in that period. Another important thing, some of these so-called tribal communities who were living in the forest, they were also involved in the trade. So the procurement of raw material or the resources for the trade happened all across South India, and many people participated, because in the Nilgiri grave they have a Roman coin. So clearly it suggests the wealth dispersed all across. Yeah, one more. Yes.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
With due respect to all the religions, you see, there is no research or less research about Ram Setu. Though it is very much a part of Indian diaspora, but there is no mention of Ram Setu, whether it is real or not, or whether it exists.
No, because I did not know, because that is something that geologists need to work on it. Because when it comes to Ram Setu, we cannot say without undertaking any research. Geology, that comes under the area of geology and underwater archaeology. So in my lecture, I didn't take it up. So because it is entirely a different area, and there are some proposals to undertake research. So without research, if we say, then it is problematic.
As far as உங்களுடைய ஆய்வினுடைய முடிவுப்படி எந்த சிவிலைசேஷன் பழமையானது? நாங்கள் படிக்கும்போது சிந்து சமவெளி வரோம் அப்படின்லாம் படிச்சிருக்கோம். ஆனால் உங்களுடைய ஆய்வுப்படி, உங்களுடைய இதுபடி எது இப்போ இதுவரைக்கும் எது பழமையான அதிமுதல்ல உள்ள
ஓகே, அது மாதிரி நம்ம சொல்ல முடியாது. இப்போ பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இந்த எல்லா சிவிலைசேஷனும் மோர் ஆர் லெஸ் அது மாதிரி நீங்கள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இஜிப்சியன், மெசபடோமியன், இண்டஸ் சிவிலைசேஷன் எல்லாமே கிட்டத்தட்ட சேம் டைம் மோர் ஆர் லெஸ். அதில் கொஞ்சம் மெசபடோமியன் கொஞ்சம் முன்னாடின்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. அது மாதிரி இந்த 360 டேஸ்ன்ற அந்த கால்குலேஷன் அது மெசபடோமியன் கேலண்டர்லேருந்து வந்ததுன்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. அது மாதிரி we cannot compare civilization, and normally our interest is that to find out which is the oldest or compare, but that is difficult to say. More or less things developed in the same time. Egyptian, Mesopotamian and Indus civilization, they all developed in the same period.
I have one question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, thank you. I am a sociologist here teaching in JNU. ரொம்ப அருமையாக இருந்தது the way you connected, that especially your focus that we should shift our attention to the Indian Ocean part and not on the mainland, and then you opened up all those trade connections and all that. I just have one, and the connection to literature, the citations. I just had one question. What was the term used for the Indian Ocean region in the Tamil discourse of that times? I mean, is there a term for the region or many terms?
Actually, sea was Kudagadal was Kunam means Eastern Sea. The Indian Ocean concept came later. This was known as Eastern Sea, Kudakadal. Kuda means west in Tamil. So Kudakadal, that is the term we are getting, and this was known as sometime Choda Mandalam, sometime it was written as Choda Sea. The idea of Bay of Bengal came much later. So as he pointed out, Mr. Rajendran, this Navalantivu, that kind of terminology also is there. Navalantivu or Jambutivu, that is also there in the literature.
He got up several times. We've
Yeah,
taken this
yeah, right.
question.
Yeah.
What is the maritime archaeological viewpoint on Kumarikandam?
Kumarikandam, actually, we don't subscribe because, see, so many things are, even today morning when I was traveling, I saw somebody has shown something as a Brahmi, and that came from Indus Valley civilization. I forwarded to my students saying that how this kind of Kumarikandam, actually there could be landscape. Even 2 days back, this Saturday and Sunday, I did field work near Tengaipattinam in Kanyakumari. We spoke to some of the fishermen. They say that within the recent years, the sea has moved in some 100 meter. So if you look at satellite map, there is some area very adjacent to this coast which is submerged. That is the reality. That is acceptable. The concept of Lemuria Kandam, Kumari Kandam, it is not accepted by geologists. But there is evidence for lower sea level in LGA, they call, last glacial maximum, about 18,000 years ago. The sea was further. So that is there. At one point of time, before 7000 BC, 7000 years, India and Sri Lanka were connected. There is no doubt about it. There is similarity between Sri Lankan cultural tradition and some of the Brahmi inscription. It is there. So that is a reality. Sri Lanka and India were connected, and similarly adjacent to Kumari there is some landscape, sea incursion even happens. That is acceptable. But this Lemuria Kandam, not I. Many scholars, they don't subscribe to that view. But sometimes, Kumari Kodum Perungadal Kolla. See, sometimes how do you interpret that? So that is how this idea of Kumari Kandam is not accepted by many of the scientists. So, but there is a landscape very adjacent to the coast. That is a probability. As I said, India and Sri Lanka were linked till 7,000 years ago. That has been mentioned by Dharani Agala. So, if they are linked, definitely there is area around Kanyakumari also that would have been exposed. So, Kumarikandam as a concept is not accepted by the scholars.
This is the final question.
Okay.
Sir, I got a question. Generally, archaeology is the gods speak the history. But somewhere I have read gods won't speak. By Thomas
Yeah, the two views are possible. Normally there is one Madonna song. You want to see what your eyes want to see. Whether the object exists or in reality or it exists only in your perception. Similarly, if there are two subjective views. If somebody sees pots can speak, it reflects his own subjective view. And if you are trying to see from another point of view, pot cannot speak. Pot is a pot. Only you make it. You are an interpreter. So, yeah, there are two in archaeology. There are two theoretical development. Mainly, I wanted to tell the students. You can read processual or new archaeology, and there is some post-processual archaeologies. The post-processual archaeologies goes on, gender issues and subalternity and all that. The processual archaeology is parallel to modernism. There is a book by Binford, by In Pursuit of the Past, 1983 published. There is another book by Ian Hodder, Reading the Past. They are available as PDF mainly for the students. You can see how in the Hodder's book he discusses how our knowledge is so subjective. So these two books could be useful for the student, how we are seeing things. So evidence is one, sometimes we interpret. Evidence is remaining as it is. It is our own mind that gives interpretation. Okay, so thank you so much.
It was a wonderful lecture, and for the first time I heard an archaeologist actually speak. I've never heard it, and it was an eye-opener for me. And it was also very interesting the way you showed the connection between people and people's connection with literature, and how this has traveled all over the world. So thank you very much for this very enlightening lecture.
Thank you all the three speakers for the session and the participants for the discussion. I hope you all have enjoyed the session. Before we are going to the end of the day, tomorrow, the third day of the Tamil Heritage and Languages Week, will be celebrated as Indian Languages Day. Professors from various centers belonging to various languages background like Sanskrit, Hindi, Urdu, Odia and Kannada will speak on the topic Role of My Language in the Development of Indian Culture. Following that, Dr. Nani Gopal Mahanta, Educational Advisor to the Hon'ble Chief Minister of Assam, Dr. K. Srinivasa Rao, Secretary of Sahitya Academy, Professor Sandishri D. Pandit, Honorable Vice Chancellor of JNU, and Honorable Chandrakant Patil, Minister of Higher and Technical Education of Maharashtra will be speaking tomorrow. We welcome you all to the Indian Languages Day. Now it's time for ending of the day. I kindly request Dr. N. Chandrasekharan, Tamil Stream, Center of Indian Languages, JNU, to deliver the vote of thanks. Before that, I request Professor Shobha Shivashankaran to honor the speaker. Now I request Dr. N. Chandrasekharan to honor the chair of the session, Professor Shobha Shivashankaran. Thank you.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். Dear friends, today we had a wonderful lectures on history, especially the ancient history, also about the Neolithic period history. And Dr. Rajendran really, though he is an Indian Administrative Service officer, retired recently, he paved his interest very long time on rewriting the history of Tamils on our independence war. So through his lecture, he stressed us, he urged us to relook our history of independence, war of the independence, how they have written mistakenly. For that, he has compared very cleverly with the 1857 Chippa Riot with the 1801 Mardu Pandya's Confederacy. Being the Confederacy, the Confederacy hood is not a new for Tamils, because if you go to the Sangam period, there were three kings, Sera, Chola and Pandyas. In any way, if anyone from outside comes, they unite. That's the nature of the Tamils. That's why that prolongs up to the Mardu Pandya's period. It's a Tamilhoodness, as Confederacy is the Tamilhoodness. So that point he has revealed with the comparison of the North versus South, and also many people will, I think, later you can go through some books are there. Maposi has written a Viduthalai Poril Tamilagam, 2 volumes. That also speak that many people have left in the history. So these types of lectures will useful for the research scholars and students. Thank you very much on behalf of the University and our Vice Chancellor, and on behalf of our school, we extend our thank you, gratefulness, sir. Thank you. And another one, that next one is also very important, because he started with what are the elements to construct the maritime history. So initially she started with the telling the points of the elements, and then he showed the materials, how these materials are being as evidence to write the history, and also they speak the history, and the materials are the scientific evidences as he revealed through his lecture, and both were shown as maps. Dr. Rajendran started with the maps, how the East India Company dominated one by one, and also Dr. Selvakumar, he also shown that maps, how that South India, or especially the Tamils, early Tamils, have gone through the beyond the limit, up to the Europe, up to the Chinese area. So these are the very important valid points, and also he revealed how the urbanization have been made. That also very important. He equalized our Tamil ancient society civilization with the Mesopotamian society. Someone has raised that question. For that also he has clarified very well. On behalf of our university and our Vice Chancellor, we thank you, Dr. Selvakumar, and also on behalf of our center, we thank Professor Shobana for conducting this session. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all the audience for the participation. We are anticipating your presence also for the upcoming days. Now high tea will be served for the participants outside. Tomorrow's lecture will be at Lecture Hall 1 at 2:30 p.m. 3:30 p.m.